Welcome to this style study segment. I am Matt, and in this segment, we are discussing category 1A, American Light Lager. But before we get into that, I do need to say that I do not represent the BJCP in any way, shape, or form. The BJCP has nothing to do with this segment, this video, or any of the videos in this series. This is purely me documenting how I am preparing and studying and hopefully soon passing the BJCP certification test, the tasting test specifically. So with that out of the way, let's get into this and get this out of the way. So American Light Lager, 1A, America's favorite beverage, according to some market research and some advertising. I think that statistically is true. And you're probably wondering, why on earth would I need to know this style? When am I ever going to judge this in a homebrew competition? Well, I had that question myself, and I did a little research, and to my surprise, it did not take me long to dig back in the records of my club's annual BJCP national competition to find out that not only 1 year, I stopped when I found my answer, 1 year we not only had an American Light Lager entry, but it also won first place in that category. That category covers 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D, so it beat out every style in that. So you may come across not only judging this, but maybe brewing it yourself one day. I have not brewed one yet. I may as a challenge, but I don't have it on my calendar anytime soon. All right, with that out of the way, let's get this out of the way. Let's get into the details and then the tastings. And to get into details, we're going to start at what's close to the bottom of the list in the guidelines. This is the vital statistics. These are the things you're not actually going to be writing anything on your score sheet about. So I kind of like to get that out of the way first and then get into the things that we're actually going to perceive and evaluate and judge. So color, giant range. The SRM goes from 2 to 3. Big range there. The IBUs, 8 to 12. Again, not very big and not very strong. Original gravity, for you brewers out there, the style range is 1.028 to 1.040. Final gravity is typically 0. That's interesting. So it's actually below 1. 0.998 to 1.008, getting us to an ABV somewhere in the range of 2.8 to 4.2%. Okay, so overall impression, according to the guidelines, highly carbonated, very light bodied, nearly flavorless lager designed to be consumed very cold. Very refreshing and very thirst quenching. All right. Now into the characteristics that we're actually going to be judging and evaluating, and I will put the highlights on the screen as we go, and we're going to try to find those highlights in the example I have just to my right here. Aroma, low to no malt aroma, although it can be perceived as grainy, sweet, or corn-like if present. Hop aroma is light to none with a spicy or floral hop character if present. While clean fermentation character is desirable, a light amount of yeast character, particularly a light apple fruitiness, is not a fault. Light DMS is not a fault. Appearance. Very pale straw to pale yellow color. White, frothy head, seldom persist, very clear. On to flavor. Relatively neutral palate with a crisp and clean finish and a low to very low grainy or corn-like flavor that might be perceived as a sweetness due to the low bitterness. Hop flavor ranges from none to low levels and can have a floral, spicy, or herbal quality, although rarely strong enough to detect. Low to very low hop bitterness. Balance may vary from slightly malty to slightly bitter, but is relatively close to even. High levels of carbonation may accentuate the crispness of the dry finish. Clean lager fermentation character. Mouthfeel, very light, sometimes watery body. Very highly carbonated with slight carbonic bite on the tongue. And in the comments, it notes designed to appeal to as broad a range of the general public as possible. Strong flavors are a fault. Okay, so there are some other characteristics, ingredients, there's some history on here that's not really important into what we're studying tonight. So we do want to talk about the commercial examples, because in this case we have one. In fact, it's really easy to have a commercial example. Commercial examples, according to BJCP guidelines, are Bud Light, Coors Light, Keystone Light, Michelob Light, Miller Light, and Old Milwaukee Light. You're going to find one of those somewhere if you want their commercial examples of this style. And like I said, I have one here. And of all those choices, This is what I decided to pick. Miller Lite. I was actually struggling to remember the last time I had one of these, and I actually do remember. It was, of all things, an Atlas V rocket launch by the ULA over at Kennedy Space Center. I went to see the launch on the causeway, and there was a table and a tent of someone selling Miller Lite, Bud Light, and I think Budweiser. Not entirely sure he was with Kennedy Space Center. He may have just been selling beer, but that's what I got. Because of those three choices, it's like throwing a dart. That's what I'm getting. All right. I have in front of me, I do have a full score sheet. We'll get to that in a minute, but I do have all the list of everything you just saw on the screen. So we're going to, on camera, go through where these are, how they're perceived on my palate and my senses, and how they fit into this commercial style. So got to open this first, and I do want to mention, can you see it? I dropped this. There's a dent in this somewhere, a little like a little almost puncture through. So this thing might explode in my face. Nope, it did not. All right. So let's pour a sample, and we'll get right to it. We're going to run through these highlights as quick as we can to save time in the video, and then I'm going to get on to doing my score sheet. So we're going to start with aroma, same way they were presented in the video. Low to no malt, and that's for sure. Light to no hop aroma. That's absolutely for sure too. Light yeast character. The only thing I do smell is yeast, and I was going to say my only comment is it's not a light yeast character because that's all I smell, but that's not true. It is light yeast. I've smelled stronger yeast in beers with accompanying other aromas from malts and hops. So it is a light yeast character for sure. In fact, that's all I smell. It also says light DMS is not a fault, but I don't smell DMS in this. I tend to taste DMS more than I smell it. And I know not everyone is sensitive to DMS completely. I think I'm one of those guys in the middle. I can only really taste it. I can never smell it. So appearance, pale. Let's clear that off. Give it its fair day in court. So pale to straw yellow, sure. Maybe just bordering on gold. Sound like Bob Euchre there. Just a bit outside. Frothy head that dissipates. I didn't even think to look at the head when I was pouring it. I didn't know if it was frothy, but I would say it certainly dissipates. Clear is another characteristic. This is clear, I will tell you. I don't know how it's coming across on camera, especially with the way the condensation is coming in here, but this is crystal clear. I mean, this is like looking through a tinted lens. It's so clear. It's not obstructing anything except for the curvature of the cup. When I get rid of that condensation, it's clear. It is. I'll give it that. It's crystal clear. Flavor. All right. I'm going to take a good sip here. So neutral palate. Yep, I would not say it is leaning towards anything other than like that cheap beer taste. Crisp. Okay, I'll give it that. Low grain or corn flavor. I would say just a hint of corn, just the smallest touch of corn, since it was pointed out to me that it could be there. In fact, if you would have given me this blind, I'm not sure I would have, or style blind, I should say. I'm not sure I'd pick it out, but I can kind of get some corn out of it. Low bitterness, I didn't really get any of that. Let me try again. Well, I guess, yeah. It's definitely not sweet. I guess the other flavor there is bitter. Clean, certainly clean. I don't need to taste it again. I don't need to do this either for mouthfeel. Light body, it's absolutely light bodied. And it is highly carbonated. In fact, I had to swallow down 2 burps there in the last description, so definitely high points on highly carbonated. So, all right. So now to wrap things up, I am going to start a timer for 12 minutes. There's the timer going. Let's see if you can see that. Not that you're going to watch it the whole time. And I'm going to fill out my score sheet, but I'm going to edit the video to get to the results so you're not sitting here listening to me scratch paper for 12 minutes. So I'm going to get on that right now. All right, the alarm went off, but I did manage to finish before that happened. I had to start up the camera again and get my mic recording, so I did make it in 12 minutes. So here we go. I filled out the score sheet. Oh, if we can see that. No human on earth can read that handwriting, and that is one of my 4 major issues that I'm going to have to work on during this series. 1 is my handwriting. 2, to an extent, my spelling. I was surprised how many words, well, I think I spelled right. Doesn't mean they were spelled right. 3, I always struggle with the mouthfeel category, but I struggle even worse with the overall impression, and we're going to get into that shortly. Let's not take too much time. Let's just go through the evaluation I did for this beer. So I filled out top of the score sheet with category 1, subcategory A, subcategory American Light Lager. In the entry number, I put Miller Lite, in case I need to refer back to this sometime. Bottle inspection, I wrote good hiss on open, aluminum can, again for my reference in case I forget that this was an aluminum can. And now we get to the actual judging. So aroma, I had noted no overwhelming or perceivable malt aromas detected, very slight slash faint spicy hop on the nose as the sample warmed up. Perceivable yeast character, not rancid or sulfuric. Slight fruitiness present as sample temperature increased, and I gave it a 10 out of 12. And I do want to note, I think my scores are a little low on this. This is going to be another thing I have to work on as we go, because most of these beers I have, or at least half I should say, are examples that the BJCP suggests. So they should have high scores, but I shouldn't be evaluating them looking to see why they're perfect. I should be looking to see how they represent the style. So I should be thinking them more of in the terms of style than score as I go. And this being the first one, I did find myself like putting down a number and going, oh, that's too low, or oh, that's too high, oh, but it's perfect. I was spending way too much time thinking about the number and not the style. That's what I was trying to get to. Kind of how like I spent way too much time explaining them. Okay, on to appearance. I had noted yellow to golden appearance, bordering on too rich of a gold for style, which I do believe I gave a fair point deduction on that, because I do think, in fact, there's some left. I still think that's just a little too gold for the style description. Just a touch. Very clear, no haze or particulates found. Small white head that quickly faded to a tight ring of small bubbles around the collar. And like I said, only took the 1 point away, so 2 out of 3 on appearance. Flavor, very light bodied, crisp and slightly tart on the tongue and palate. Low to nearly no detectable malt and hop presence. Extremely clean fermentation with recognizable yeast character and a touch of fruitiness in the form of typical stone fruit characters. Ever slight bitterness on the finish, absolutely no lingering aftertaste. And with all that, I went with an 18 out of 20 on that. And I can see I erased it, and I can't remember if I had it higher or lower. I think I had it lower. And again, well, that's just an example that I spent too much time deciding what to do with a number instead of focusing on the style. So I think that lesson is already well learned in this, which is good to get it out of the way. Mouthfeel. This is where I struggle with mouth. I always struggle. And here's a perfect example why. Because I started flavor with the words very light bodied. That should have went under mouthfeel. So instead of rewriting my entire flavor descriptors again, or evaluation again, I started with that on mouthfeel. I put very light bodied. I have to remember body is mouthfeel from going forward. High carbonation adding a stinging sensation to the overall mouthfeel. Noticeable alcohol presence without a sense of hot or warmth. Thirst quenching and easy repeat drinkability. And that last line is just, it's me trying to fill the line in. I have to work on mouthfeel descriptors, so that's something I'm going to work on here. And I went 5 out of 5 again with an erasure in there, so it had to have been lower if I went to 5. But yeah, like I think I made that clear about the whole points versus style thing here. And then now overall impression. This is so short, it's pathetic. Very light and easily drinkable beer. Borders on a touch dark for style, but aroma and flavor are dead on. A great representation of style. So to give you an idea of my goal is definitely to fill all these lines, and I hope to go over sometimes just because I hopefully have enough to say. You can see, hopefully the camera's picking this up, mouthfeel is already a little short. Overall impression is 3.5 full lines short, so I have to work on those two a lot as we go, but we've got a lot more styles to do, so I'll have plenty of practice. As far as the box here, which I'm not even sure what the box is called, I'll have to look that up. But the style accuracy, I went classic example, technical merit flawless, intangibles wonderful, and the scoring guide excellent is the 38 to 44 range. I think there should be another point in there somewhere for 45, but it just didn't happen this time around. And like I said, spent enough time thinking about points in that style that I should have. I probably wasted like a good minute, maybe 2 of that 12 minutes doing that. So, all right. That is it for this one. And that is it for category 1A American Light Lager. Yeah, that's it. That is category 1A American Light Lager. Like I said, I am Matt, and I'll be back with a big step up in style to American Lager. Hold on to your hats for that one. So until then, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another segment very soon.